The professor and Alice, or rather the other professor and the other Alice, take a look at the other side of the looking glass in The Time Machine, written by Matt Fitton and starring Jenna Coleman, Michael Cochran, and Nicholas Briggs. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and others, to the 38th episode of an Unearthly podcast. Today is the 22nd of January, and I am the Man in Black. With me are Mad Matt.
Hello.
And a slightly dematerialized version of Ronson.
Always a pleasure.
If you want to hear more of us, please follow us on Twitter at UnearthlyPod, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/UnearthlyPodcast, and subscribe to Mad Matt Inc. 1 on YouTube and Mad Matt 218.
Oh, wow. Did Bill just crash?
In order to
Possibly.
bring attention to the eight.
Oh, there he is. He's back again.
Yeah, we lost you briefly, Bill.
What happened?
Just as you were saying, Matt 2180, you cut off right there.
Ah, okay.
Technical
Okay.
difficulties.
Got you.
The complete number is
when don't
Matt
we have
2185.
Yeah. So let me close the probably most bandwidth drawing thing I have and see if that fixes it. But yeah, you can subscribe to us at Mad Matt Inc. 1 on YouTube and Mad Matt 2185 on Twitch. Before we get to the news, you may have noticed a red ribbon on our stream. The Red Ribbon Reviewers was founded, I believe, in 2010, but don't quote me on that, in order to bring attention to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. It is to that end that we are wearing a red ribbon today. Outside of Doctor Who, there really isn't an opportunity to go back in time after things go wrong, so please, be clever. We don't get to regenerate, and being prepared is cool. Would anybody like to add to that before we get on to the news?
I think you hammered that one on the head.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right. Our first set of news. This was originally going to be a statement that the Doctor Who Blu-ray gift set was out of stock, but apparently in the past week they have shipped out some more, so it is once again in stock. So if you have $300, go ahead.
However, if you were hoping to get it by Christmas, that's not going to happen. Last I
Amazon?
saw it on Amazon, and it says you had to order it, I think, 2-3 days ago to get it by the 26th.
Oh, Amazon claims if you order it within the next, as of recording, 24 hours and 6 minutes and pay for 1 day shipping, you can get it. However, the U.S. Postal Service has been terrible this month. I've heard nothing but complaints. Sorry to any postal workers listening. I'm assuming most of you are doing the best you can, but...
Yeah, my mother is a postal worker, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm sure she's doing the best she can, but I've heard
dude, let me put it to you this way. They come back when they are done. She has not been getting back lately this week until between 6 and 9 p.m.
I'm just saying don't count on any deliveries. There's...
Yeah, the deliveries are going crazy.
So, in theory, you can still get it if you're willing to pay for 1 day shipping. I wouldn't hold your breath, though.
Mm-hmm.
Though somebody delivered one of my a gift addressed to me to my downstairs neighbor. I didn't appreciate that much. So if you have a Whovian in your life that you're willing to drop $300 on for an awesome $100 remote control and 7 seasons worth of Blu-rays plus other special things in there, it is available for you.
Yeah, I wanted to buy that for GeekCon, but that's pretty much my entire budget for DVDs. I can't do that.
You don't need other DVDs.
Actually, I kind of do this year.
We kind of do. We need more Classic Who because we're making up for the fact that we aren't getting the new season in.
That
Yeah.
and the fact I'm showing a lot of films that are independent, or not really independent, but public domain, and I actually have to own those to show them. Unlike buying stuff through third-party companies like Swank, where they'll send me the material.
Yeah. But yeah, this does look gorgeous, but yeah, there's no way I'm going to afford this anytime soon.
By the way, regarding the sonic screwdriver remote control, if you haven't heard of it, it's essentially like any other universal remote. You program it in, and then you essentially draw in the air what channel you want to go to, and it goes to that. So it's an interesting little feature to have if you're able to either get it for a holiday, Life Day, or or if you've managed to afford it.
If you're going to regularly afford that, how about buying a few for some of the needy fans, please?
Right.
Now, if somebody has a lot of money and cares to buy it and donate it to GeekCon, we'd appreciate it.
That as well.
Our next bit
You
our
can find
next
our
bit of
P.O.
news
box.
is that BBC America has a special extended trailer of Time of the Doctor.
Which,
I probably should have rewatched that just to.
and just as a general purpose reminder, it is Sunday as we're broadcasting, so Time of the Doctor is in 1, 2, 3 days.
Yep.
3 days and change for those of us in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in 3 days from now, it will have started airing in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But the trailer shows a very brief glimpse of Capaldi. It shows several of the monsters that'll be faced, and this is confirmed as a new character by the name of Tasha Lem that is featuring in the special. She is described as a galactic nun, a friend from the Doctor's past, and she is in charge of the organization that includes the Silence and the group that was fought in A Good
Bill,
Man
you're
Goes
breaking
to-
up really badly.
Actually, it's not on my end.
Oh, really? Then it must be mine.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're coming through fine, Matt. He's coming through staticky.
Must be the connection between you two. As you were saying, Bill?
I was just saying, this character is confirmed as being the one in the extended trailer by the name of Tasha Lem, who is essentially, she's described as a galactic nun, a leader of the equivalent of a galactic United Nations, but more willing to use their firepower than the actual United Nations, as an old friend of the Doctor's, and that her organization includes the Silence and the group that was fought at Demon's Run. So this should explain a lot of what was going on in Series 6, most of which is still completely unexplained. I would speculate that means River Song.
Wasn't the Silence the bad guys?
It's the white guys with the suits.
Yes, I know. The bad guys. Weren't they villains in Series 6? And if so, if she's in charge of the Silence, wouldn't that make her a very bad guy?
Apparently.
The actress describes her as being a good guy. So I guess I'm waiting to see what actually happens of this before
I can
saying
see in the
anything
trailer she's
about the
obviously a
character.
villain. So,
She also seemed to be she also seemed to be friendly with the Doctor in the beginning of the trailer. Although reading more of this, I'm assuming that that's her both in the beginning, and in the end. Even though in the end she looks a bit more of Indie descent than she does in the beginning, but
Towards the end, she has the floating holographic head of Skeletor from the live-action Masters of the Universe. She's evil.
sure.
Trust me, she's evil.
But I guess. Hopefully we'll find out why her organization is targeting the Doctor and such.
Yeah, that's kind of my question. I mean, it's been kind of a running thing that, Stephen Moffat sees, that the villains see the Doctor as this global threat to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, according to, the 5th series, that's why they encased him in the Pandorica.
Mm-hmm.
And that was essentially why the Silence was doing what they were doing. So, where do we put 2 and 2 together and get 4 here?
Well,
Hopefully some of this will be answered.
hopefully, yeah.
I've just been looking at about the 0.5 second mark of the trailer, where since I paused it, I can actually see that it is definitely Capaldi there. I'm trying to come up with anything worth saying about it. Although apparently the external phone that, according to the Empty Child, isn't supposed to work. Capaldi is opening that up, so I'm kind of curious if that's going to be used as a phone in the future.
That's
or what.
not Capaldi. That's very obviously Matt Smith.
Doesn't look like it to me.
He finished watching the sequence, Bill.
I'm not talking about the whole sequence. I'm talking about that, because they're 2 separate clips. There's the first half second outside the TARDIS, and then they go to Matt Smith inside the TARDIS.
Still looks like the same outfit, though.
Well, it could be at the very end of the...
Yeah, it was probably just after the regeneration.
I don't know. Well, anyway, we'll see.
And is that the Cyber Fleet behind him there? Because I thought that was the indication we were supposed to get a Demon's Run, although maybe it's just a different fleet.
I don't know. We know the Cybermen are playing a huge role in this.
Oh, that's true. The Cybermen are here, so maybe that is the same Cyber Fleet from Goodman Goes to War.
Although they are getting, they're supposed to be more of the Neil Gaiman redesign.
Yes, that was a good redesign. Keep going with that.
Oh, another thing from the trailer, of course, is the Doctor meets Clara's parents, which I guess makes her actually.
Not her parents. Her mother's dead.
Well, whatever parents she eats Christmas dinner with.
Yeah,
she says,
I believe that's her aunt and uncle.
Oswalds.
Yep.
Oh.
I believe that's her aunt and uncle that she lives with and takes care of their kids.
I've just realized I don't think he's had a companion in New Who, unless you count the one-offs, which I don't, that he hasn't met the family of. I mean, Wilf he hasn't met the parents of, but he met the younger family of. Everyone else?
Well, Wilf was part of Donna's family.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. He didn't meet Wilf's parents, but he did meet other family members of his. He met River's family. He met the Ponds at the wedding, although he probably didn't properly introduce himself.
Probably not.
And in the finale of season 3, he met Martha's family, although I think also met them earlier in the series too.
Yeah, the one with was it the Lazarus something?
Yep.
The Lazarus experiment.
There's so many TV things with Lazarus in the title, I can never keep track of them anymore.
But yeah. Yeah, that was also the second time he got slapped by somebody's mother.
Yep. There's also another Christmas special sneak peek in which Clara and the Doctor do not like waiting patiently for a turkey to cook.
I think they waited too long, and now it's like they're supposed to be eating and the turkey isn't done. I know this feeling, by the way.
That might be it as well.
Trust
Either
me,
way, she wants the screwdriver to fix the turkey, and
this Thanksgiving was my first attempt at cooking a turkey, so I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, that takes a while.
But I actually estimated too long and overcooked it slightly.
Dry then.
Not enough. What's that?
Dry then.
Not really that bad though. The outside was desert, inside was fine. It made great leftovers.
The first time I got a turkey, I followed there's I guess conventional rules on how many minutes per pound to cook it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We got halfway through that time before realizing that the turkey was well done to the point of falling off the bones and pulled it out of the oven. So I don't know if my supplier just supplied a better turkey that cooked faster or what, but it definitely did not take the recommended amount of time to get through it.
Hey, if it's fall off the bones, don't knock it, man. It's falling off the bones. It's self-serve.
Our last bit of news about Time of the Doctor is that, I guess this is news, everyone seems to be talking about it online, is that the Doctor is once again going to be nude for Christmas. And I guess apparently he's going to a church service that does not allow clothing.
Okay, that's just sensationalism by the staff.
People are bored.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, seriously.
Boy.
Yeah.
I get fan service for the gals, but still. Not sure that's exactly the kind of fan service they're expecting.
Unless there's a necessary point to this.
Wait, is that a picture of Capaldi at the bottom? It is! Oh my god, Pierre Capaldi looks like the Master.
Yeah, I would have figured that would have been more of that character, more of the actor's style than the Doctor proper. Although one thing about Capaldi is he is at least a proper Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
No, I think it was it Matt Smith that when he started had no idea what Doctor Who was. Well, I mean, knew of it, but knew
very
never
little.
seen an episode.
Yeah, he
I believe he had family members that were fans, and he'd seen a few things here and there, but he hasn't seen anything all the way through before he was the Doctor.
He acknowledged the significance of becoming the Doctor, but apparently he didn't know anything about it, and then was given Tomb of the Cybermen, which he loved.
Yeah, my general thought is when you have a actor that knows and loves the role, they turn out better. Tennant was a huge Doctor Who fan, and it showed, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Although, in some people's opinion, it showed too much, because you get to for example, in School Reunion, you get to the point where, wait, is Tennant being a fanboy, or is the Doctor greeting his old friend?
I didn't get that feeling.
No, I didn't either. It was, if it was any of that, it helped to enhance the performance, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely ingrained on new viewers such as myself at the time the significance of that moment.
It was. I mean, I remember we have not done a review on this one, and I would love to at some point, but I remember right after him seeing her, you actually get this point where he's just almost sitting here, and you could almost see him looking back into his own memories. And I thought that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just kind of sitting back and he's just like, "Oh, good for you, good for you. You've done really well, good for you." Kind of the
No,
moment.
not just that. It's not even when he's actually, where he's still hiding as, John Smith. It's just after he meets her for the interview part, you see him in the hallway, and it's just his eyes are just kind of like going back and forth as if recalling all that time.
Yeah.
And you think about it, how old a Time Lord is. A lot of those memories must get forced to the back.
Especially since even if you ignore the fact that he was 953 as the Seventh Doctor, he was, I believe, 450 in Pyramids of Mars. He's at least 900 at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is basically like you like one of us walking up on a friend that we haven't seen since our freshman year of high school that we were extremely close with at that time, and just going back to it in our mind.
Yeah. Still, Capaldi.
And the fact that Capaldi is, that big of a fan. So much so that he actually wrote a letter into, I think it was Doctor Who magazine or the Radio Times about Doctor Who when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Is just,
But
I think
did
it's
he
gonna
marry
work.
the Doctor's daughter?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Then again, Tennant had been the Doctor for 3 years before marrying any daughters, so he's got.
I didn't think he did it while he was the Doctor. I thought the wedding was shortly. He was dating her in his last couple of years.
I know he didn't meet her until Series 4. That's
right. He didn't meet her until Series 4. They started dating while he was doing the specials, I think. And then he married her, I think, in like 2010.
So I guess Capaldi has some time. Unless he's already married, in which case he doesn't.
I would think he'd be married by now.
Alright, our next bit of news, BBC Blogs is taking in votes for the best 11th Doctor moment. I'm not sure how long they take the votes for. I'm assuming it's about a week. Probably just up until Christmas. But there are 11 nominations. And it's on bbc.co.uk/blog/Doctor Who if you want to find it.
Probably post a list afterwards.
Yep.
Or how about also passing a link on so I could actually go there?
Yeah.
You have the link I posted in Skype, right? I don't see the stream, so I don't.
I don't recall seeing a link for it.
Let me resend it. let me know when you got it open since I can't watch.
Loading. There it is.
Okay. So the nominations there are Fish Fingers and Custard. So essentially the scene with the Doctor and Amy in the beginning of the 11th hour. There's the "Hello, I'm the Doctor" moment from the end of that same episode.
God, that's got to be one of my top ones because that was a moment of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's another one that I believe Randy likes to. Oh no, sorry, I'm skipping one. So let's get to the one that let's not skip it, which is the end of Vincent and the Doctor, where the Doctor brings Vincent to see how well regarded he would become.
Meh.
Yeah, that one. That episode sours on me because it became a PSA.
I'm not the hugest fan of that myself. Then we have the "Hello Stonehenge" speech.
God, that's another classic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, yeah, you guys saw the Sylvester McCoy version?
I have.
Yes,
yeah.
I did. Was not as good as Matt Smith's.
I thought it was still pretty good, though.
Yeah, it was. I lost something because I'm not sure Sylvester knew the context of the.
I don't think he did because the the cadence of the speech seemed kind of strange at times for the
Yeah.
context. I think someone literally just handed him this and said, "Can you read it?"
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the doctor's wife, where the doctor says goodbye to the human TARDIS.
That was a heartbreaker. That was a heartbreaker for me.
Apparently
My apologies, that came on me very suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the entire episode of A Good Man Goes to War counts here, and
Ugh.
I can kind of see it, but I think they should have narrowed it down to a specific moment. I mean, I did enjoy rewatching that when I first watched it, but there are also
calling it Matt moments. I actually didn't like A Good Man Goes to War. Because it was part of Series 6 and the River Song story.
I enjoyed especially the build up to that episode, like the opening. I was a fan of the first half of it, essentially.
No. the first half of season 6, sure, but actual last half of Game Ventures the River Song, no.
I'm saying the first half of A Good Man Goes to War.
No, I don't care. I don't want to.
And then we have Angels Take Manhattan, the very end, when the doctor is reading Amy's. I forget what it was in context of the book he was reading, but
it was the end after the final chapter. It was after they were gone.
Okay.
And yeah, as much as I hate Angels Take Manhattan, that particular scene was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's good enough for me to put it into my top list.
Yeah.
But it was a good scene.
Number 8. Well, I'm not sure if the numbers have any significance, but it's the 8th one on the list. Is Bells of St. John, the conversation between the Doctor and Clara when she originally wakes up in her bed. I forget it. Well, she has very little clue who he is at this point, and he's telling her of her phone messages and such.
Not really a great scene to me. It's the Doctor being his stereotypical eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't come off to me as a moment of awesome.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a boring part. Let's see, what else
It honestly came across as a little creepy to me, just...
Yeah, he's been doing that.
Most of 7B comes across as the Doctor being creepy stalker.
Yeah. Then there's of course the speech at Rings of a Cotton.
As much as I did not like
the trilogy of Doctor speeches.
Yeah, as much as I did not like the episode, or the second part of that episode, that speech has grown on me.
Mm-hmm.
I have found myself YouTubing it recently.
Oh yeah, there's also some...
I feel like didn't either McCoy or Colin Baker do their own version? I was just
going to say, Colin Baker did a version of that at a convention, and it was pretty good too.
I haven't heard that. I'll have to YouTube that.
Look it up, man. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Nightmare in Silver, the sequence between the Doctor and his cyber planner self, Mr. Clever, interacting with one another.
That was good. That was some of Matt Smith's better acting. In the last 3 seasons. Because anytime you get an actor that gets to act as himself and as something else, however, I'm off as a little too Gollum-y sometimes, and deliberately so.
Yeah.
Meh. I can forgive that.
Apparently, the numbering is only important in the fact that they go up to 11.
Yeah. And the 11th item on the list is the 11th Doctor. I don't know if it's even a speech. It's essentially just a monologue at the end of Day of the Doctor, right before that closing moment.
I thought that scene was okay. It's good. It's probably up there, but if you're going to represent Day and the Doctor, I would have chosen,
probably
the moment that he chose. Yes. That exact moment.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been my choice. Because it basically leads into awesome. It is the moment that you start treading the the great of the episode, and you tread into awesome territory, and, the ball doesn't stop for like a good 10
I can
minutes.
understand that that's not specifically a Matt moment. That is a Matt, David, and John moment. But he's
he's
Jenna
the one
and
that chooses.
Billy.
He's the one that chooses another way. He's the one that figured it out. It is a Matt moment.
So those are
It's a
the
Matt
11
moment that also includes David and John. But yeah,
David and John and Jenna and Billy's did have their have their parts of that moment. They both their characters too. At least, because Clara is all wise.
Yeah, mostly Tennant's part of that is like, oh, that is us, you know.
Yeah. So those are the 11 nominations. So how do you vote? Okay, I guess there's a link to. I'm clicking the. I should have clicked the link before to see what this is, but I'm assuming it's a checkbox.
I don't know. It might be the. It looks like.
Oh, the link brought back to bbc.co.uk. Oh no!
Oh, it's a poll on the right side of the screen. Yeah. About halfway down the page.
Oh, okay. So if you just go to the BBC Doctor Who page, you should see it.
God, oh yeah, I see. 4, and I'm gonna have to. How long is this poll lasting till?
I haven't seen an ending date, so my guess would be
I may have to think about this for a day. Because, yeah, first of all, you've got the 3 epic speeches, and those are going to be in my top 3. So it's going to be one of those. But which one do I like the best? Jeez.
Hello, I'm the Doctor. Hello, Stonehenge. Or Take It All.
Yeah. Take My Memories. Yeah. Actually, that one I think of as I'll Tell You a Story.
It starts off as I'll Tell You a Story, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're going with that.
Do you guys want to know what is in the lead right now? Because I just voted, and it does show you what the percentages are.
Sure.
What is in the lead?
The Day of the Doctor closing is currently in the lead with 22%.
Oh, that's also the most recent, so I'm not entirely surprised. What's number 2?
Yeah. Number 2... looks like there are 2 tied for 12%. That's the end of Vincent and the Doctor and the ends of Rings of Akkad.
Okay.
At the very bottom of the barrel is Bells of St. John, Conversation Through the Window with 1% of the vote.
Yeah, that didn't seem to be a epic moment.
No.
But for me, I have to go for the 3 epic speeches.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not sure which one. I'm almost tempted to go with the 11th hour, Hello, I'm the Doctor, because that's the moment. That's what I just voted for. That was the moment to me that basically my brain said, okay, this is the Doctor. I can deal with this now. While I like the Pandorica Open speech, it is a very epic speech. It is also a failure. In there, shortly thereafter, it turns out the entire thing is an elaborate trap for him. Mm-hmm. So, and Rings of Akkad, again, is another failure. He says, take my memories, and challenges him to, that his memories are more than it could take. And it turns out it's not. It's still taking it, and it's Clara that's with the memories of what could have, or the what could have been is that what saved him. So I think out of the 3 epic speeches, I like Hello, I'm the Doctor the best.
Yeah.
If you can't choose, support our podcast by going on to bbc.co.uk and voting for Hello, I'm the Doctor.
Yeah, which is at 10% at the moment.
Yeah. So it's in about the middle, but it wouldn't take much to jump it up to the second place at the very least.
But Vincent and the Doctor has hopped up there, and it's tied with, the Cotton speech. Ugh.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Why would Vincent and the Doctor be so high? It wasn't that great.
It's a very popular episode for some reason.
Yeah, it's one I hate because of the PSA. Otherwise, I probably would have liked it.
Yeah, it gets too PSA on my ass.
Yeah, it becomes way too very Special Blossom for me, and that turns me off of something when they decide to try to, promote social change through an episode.
I also kind of feel if they're going to try and portray depression, they should actually, ask for the advice of someone who has it rather than guessing.
Yeah, that's part of my issue too, as being somebody who does clinically have depression, or at least did. It's not really something that I felt was accurate.
Right.
Yes, Vincent van Gogh was very depressed. He had a few other neuroses too, which didn't help things.
But anyway, I'm voted in.
And our last bit of news, unless anyone has any last-minute additions, we've got 2 new Strax field reports. One is a 5-minute clip going through the history of the 12, including war, doctors, which was fairly accurate, at least as accurate as you would expect from Strax. There were some things that anyone who knows Strax could be able to tell the truth from anyway. And there was a 1-minute special about Christmas, which, if you're a fan of the character, watch it. If not, it's probably got nothing for you.
It's wonderful cheese.
If you find comedic Strax annoying, by all means avoid it. The Strax field report on the doctors was a lot better than the one on Christmas.
Although, be minded that right now, apparently, the Strax field report on the doctors is not working, at least not for me.
Off of BBC's
it's on
website.
YouTube. It's working on
you can YouTube it. If you
Oh.
YouTube Strax field report on, it'll be like one of the first things that comes up.
And I think it's the official channel, isn't it?
I think one of them. I think the one I saw came off of like Doctor Who Denmark or something strange like that.
Okay.
And just a last check. Anybody have anything other than the time machine they'd like to discuss?
Give me a moment. Let me double check.
Okay. Is
Daleks are
47
currently
Ronin out yet?
celebrating their 50th anniversary.
Yep.
Bring back Dalek Mania.
Nothing else that I hadn't mentioned last week. I double-checked the BBC's news, and there is nothing else. Just remember, 3 days. Make sure you get your Christmas stuff done in time so you can watch.
Oh
the
yeah, that's
episode.
right. We didn't specifically. So it's 7:30 Greenwich Mean Time on BBC One, and it's at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on BBC America. That's Time of the Doctor.
And
we
just before it,
Is that night or
just
morning?
In the evening.
In the evening
just
for us.
before it,
Time.
BBC is having a special event, a farewell to Matt Smith. It is going to have interviews by the people that Matt Smith has worked with through his tenure in Doctor Who.
I'm sorry, any fangirls that still watch us, but he will probably not get naked during that special. or fanboys that like that. I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Stephen Moffat needs to talk to Rick Berman because Rick Berman will tell him that having one of your main characters get naked will not save the ratings of your show.
No, but apparently I don't know what it is because even if I was into that, he doesn't look at all that attractive to me. But apparently, fangirls on Tumblr and Facebook love it when he takes his shirt off, and I don't understand it. He's all parchment and bone. Like, if he was a woman, I wouldn't find that attractive. So I'm not really sure why people want that, other than him being the Doctor. But
I don't know. The fangirl logic really escapes me. I swear the majority of them it seems that if there's any reasonably attractive star, they will immediately want to see them in less than full clothing. It did it with John Barrowman, it did it with David Tennant, and apparently now it's moved on to Matt Smith.
Yep.
Now, be happy they only did it twice. Be happy they only did it twice.
The fact is, though, that this has actually been true about guys for ages, but it's kind of expected that way. Men are base creatures, if you ask most people.
I think it might simply be the fact that Tumblr and Facebook have more open opinion women than any other medium has ever had in history. That might be just bringing out something that's always been there that just has been pushed down by society.
Not to mention, of course, the fact that there is a relatively high pervert ratio on the internet.
Yeah.
The internet is for porn.
Exactly.
And with that, let's go forward to Destiny of the Doctor, the Time Machine.
The finale.
Yep,
that's right. After this, series. We'll be forced to either review actual Big Finish stuff or go back to reviewing classic episodes.
And I'm sorry, I was saying this and then I stopped because we sidetracked it a little bit. After Time of the Doctor, either immediately after or within the succeeding hours, we will be streaming. So
I was going to save that for the end of the podcast, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be streaming almost immediately following the end of Doctor Who. There will probably be some setup time.
Yeah, it really depends on how soon we can all get together, but assuming everything goes to plan, it will be immediately afterward.
Yeah, we will begin prepping for it pretty much as soon as it's done. We will not start before it's done, just out of respect to our American viewers who wish to watch the episode before listening to our take on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be sometime thereafter. It might be a half hour or an hour after, depending on how fast we can get things set up and get it out of our system that we can podcast on a sane, rational level. Day of the Doctor took a bit, I think, for us to clear it out of our system before we could actually broadcast the next day, because some of us were still swinging.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Alright, the Time Machine stars Alice Watson, the assistant to a Professor Chivers, who is building a time machine based on...
Was her last name actually Watson?
It was Watson, yes. That wasn't just the Doctor. Although I really was dying for a Watson, come here, I want you, but that never happened.
No, it was more Sherlock Holmes, come Watson.
I know. But I spent the whole first time I listened to this, I was waiting for that moment, and it never happened. So then eventually I was like, okay, I guess it's just the John Watson thing, and then you can hear a bit of that. Not too much. They focus a little more on the Alice. Anyway, Alice is the assistant to Professor Chivers, who is building a time machine based on instructions and parts that have been sent back in time by a future version of himself. On her way to work, Alice meets the Doctor, who has been attracted by a sense that something was wrong with time in that specific place. The Doctor examines the time machine, which has come with several insectoid creatures that at first cannot be seen by anyone except for himself. The Doctor explains that the time loop created by the machine sending parts of itself back to replicate itself created a hole in space-time. At the Doctor's command, the insectoid creatures revealed themselves. Professor Chivers, being part of the loop, was still unable to see the creatures, who identified themselves as the Krivix, though Alice was able to see them. More and more of the Krivix arrived, and the Doctor and Alice ran. They headed to a library where the Doctor was recognized and the TARDIS was hidden. As the Doctor and Alice entered the time vortex, Chivers completed his time machine, which completed the time loop and sent the time stream into flux, which created a possible timeline where the Krivix had infested the Earth universe through dozens of Chivers time machines. The Kriviks reveal that they are from another universe where they completely control the passage of time and intend to expand their influence into the Doctor's universe. Meanwhile, in the future, I've always wanted to say that, a time agent is dispatched to 2013 to deal with a temporal anomaly, the same anomaly the Doctor has been dealing with. When the Doctor discovered his belongings and the time agent's belongings in a time machine, he brought the machine to the century where he had come from, which expanded the Kriviks' possible timeline to consume that century as well. It is revealed that the Doctor was manipulated by the Kriviks into causing that to happen. This is referred to as a chrono collision, which to me implies that the Alice and the Doctor crashed into the time agent's ship in the time vortex and bumped him into the Kriviks' universe. As a last-ditch effort, the Doctor uses a Time Lord communications hypercube that he had stolen from Chivers to send messages to his past selves. The Kriviks reply that this is a futile gesture, and the Doctor appears to give up. At the bidding of the Kriviks, Alice arrived to provide Chivers with both the time machine and the hypercube. Alice quotes a Bob Dylan lyric to Chivers, which sparks a memory of his, that he met the Doctor when he was a high school student back in Hunters of Earth. The Doctor arrives, revealing how he put the previous entries of Destiny of the Doctor into place and why. Through these messages, the Doctor orchestrated when and where the Kriviks would make their attack and set up a trap for them. To top it all off, the time agent materialized on top of the last Kriviks Wizard of Oz style, ending the Kriviks' paradise. The Doctor tells the time agent to make sure that Alice goes off with the time agent to help him make his report, and the Doctor tells him to make sure that she is not late, which left me wondering if she had a very important date.
You never know of time.
What did you guys think of this special?
Apparently, the rules of time gets folded, spindled, and mutilated.
There's so many different types of paradoxes here. It's yeah, we have at least one, if not more, grandfather paradoxes here. I mean, not grandfather bootstrap paradoxes. I meant to say.
Yeah. Not to
for
mention
example, the hypercube
the
itself.
The fact that if it was the fact that the collision bumped the time agent's time ship into the other universe, that it means that the Doctor, in response to investigating this, caused the problem in the first place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they pretty much say that the Doctor showing up in the future is what allowed the Kriviks to get that far into the future. So it most likely is assumed that his attempts to investigate it is what caused it. He mentioned,
which is kind of a bootstrap paradox, and it's the Doctor creating it's the fact it's so paradoxical, which is why we had to involve the Omni paradox from the Sixth Doctor's timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a temporal physics headache.
In terms of how the other 10 stories fit in, did that make sense to everybody? Because I did jot down a list if that needed.
Yes, for the most part, it made sense to me.
Although I'm vaguely wondering if with the ending of it, if Alice happens to get together with the handsome young time agent and a few generations later.
Are you going to say he's his own grandfather?
No. I'm wondering if he's Captain Jack's grandfather.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, because if he turned out to be 01's grandfather or something.
No, that would be way too paradoxy, and I was kind of going away from the paradox conversation.
Which in that case we'd have bootstrap paradoxes and grandfather paradoxes rolled into one,
and the universe would just basically explode.
Just because it's so sick of the paradoxes.
Although speaking of, there's also the fact that even if there's no grandfather paradox, he's still a bootstrap paradox himself, because after causing him to not exist, the Doctor set his parents up in order to make sure that he would exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about that. How did he exist in the first place to cause this?
Yeah. And by the way, at the very least, if Hunters of Earth and Shadow of Death, if not more, were already written before they came up with this plot.
Why do you think that?
Because I listened to the behind-the-scenes documentary special feature. They mentioned that they came up with this as a framing device after Shadow of Death was written.
So they added the conversation bit to Shadow of Death?
Basically, in Hunters of Earth and Shadow of Death, the 11th Doctor was there just so that he would have a cameo, like a small cameo, and then eventually they realized they should link the cameos into a coherent story.
Afterwards? Jeez.
Yeah. So basically they're just for a cameo, and then they were like, okay, we're writing 11 stories, let's have the 10 cameos be a story.
Well, BBC would have dropped the ball for most of that.
Yeah, I really think that Jenna Louise Coleman should not have been the one to read this.
I'm kind of wondering why the specific choice, if she was chosen specifically just because she was the companion and in order to fool the audience into thinking that she would be there, or if there was something more to it.
I don't know. It was kind of like, what the hell? I mean,
I can say that she knows. She can probably do a bit. She knows Matt Smith's mannerisms and everything, and I imagine
but she really doesn't. If I listened to this and I was listening for Matt Smith nuances, and I really didn't get a lot of it out of her reading.
Yeah,
in terms of the decision, because I'm just thinking Karen Gillan's accent would be probably harder to get past than Jenna's, although I might be wrong.
I don't know. I've heard Karen Gillan speak outside of Amy Pond, and her accent isn't as thick as as
Amy's.
Yeah.
I gotta say, listening to some of the Jenna's lines as the Doctor, and she sounded almost tenanty at times. I'm like, unless it was just me, I don't know, but there were a couple of lines that seemed kind of...
Well, the entire bit where Matt Smith first shows up, I'm listening to that repeatedly, and I'm like, I'm getting none of Matt Smith in here. I'm getting Jenna Louise Coleman and Jenna Louise Coleman talking.
Yeah, I can't really say that she really threw much for voices at all in this thing.
No, and like I said, I mean, the others were included. It's really weird because it's a series, done about the companions. If you look at each one of the previous ones, the companion was the primary feature in them.
And this one has none of the companions, but the new person that's in it is actually kind of sort of featured as having more time than the Doctor.
It really feels like they're setting something up with Alice. It's just you can't really tell what, because to my knowledge, she never appears in anything else unless Audio Go is planning to do a series with the Doctor and her.
That would be nice.
In which case, they probably won't have Jenna Louise Coleman star in it, so...
No, it wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't
nothing
at all.
About this makes sense.
And that's kind of my... I enjoyed it to the point that it doesn't make enough sense for me to call it really a good thing, but I didn't dislike it other than that.
It was just bewildering why. I mean, the character of Alice is not really that interesting. She's never read any fiction in her entire life. Me personally, I'm kind of gobsmacked over that whole concept.
Yeah.
And I could see the Doctor taking someone like that as a companion and convincing her to, instead of being a one-sided all-science person, to become more well-rounded. and you can see the beginnings of that here. Like this is like the first adventure of a new companion. But then again,
it feels that way. It's just the fact that somebody, that has never gone through life without even reading any piece of fiction.
I would say,
it's such an extreme.
She wasn't, and there's also she wasn't homeschooled because she mentioned school. I don't know about British schools, but in American schools, there's a minimum amount of fiction you can read to graduate.
Yeah, I know. I remember my English classes made me read a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Hell, my 7th grade classes, elementary school even, you had book reports on.
Yeah.
They always said you had to read at least one book over the summer. So, unless she did her book reports on,
probably or biographies.
On biographies of scientists or frickin' textbooks.
But how English classes? I can just in America, I had to read at least 4 or 5 Shakespearean works.
Oh, I never had to read Shakespeare, but
you never had to read Romeo and Juliet.
My high school English class elective, that was one I could have taken, but my high school had a science fiction, a class particular to science fiction, and I loved that class so much I took it twice.
Everybody who graduated from my high school at the very least read Romeo and Juliet.
So when they had to read that kind of stuff, I was reading. Let's see, Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 was one of the books we had to read.
Nice.
A Canticle for Leibowitz was another one. Ursula Le Guin, The Left Hand of Darkness. Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. So yeah, I got to read science fiction.
I did have to read Ender's Game in either 7th or 8th grade. I think that was as much as science fiction was really required. Obviously, I've read plenty of it optionally for things where you can choose, but I think that was the only one that was required.
No, this was a particular course. The fun part is for 2001, we read the book, did the write-ups on the book, discussion of the book in class, and then after I think about 6 weeks dealing with it, we actually sat down and watched the movie and then discussed the differences between them.
Oh, nice. Did you look at the sequels at all?
Not in that class, no. I think they're. I don't remember if. I think 2061 had come out recently when I took this class. The other sequel was, still on the drawing board, if anything.
I got you.
Because this was back around 1992.
Well,
this was.
I was going to say, considering how old the movie is, I kind of assumed that they had all been released, 60s or
Clark
that they were all fairly old.
Clark didn't write Odyssey 2 until the 80s. And I think 83, 84. And then he basically left the series alone for 10 years.
Got you.
I think 2061 was out because I think I owned a copy of that. But after 2061, he didn't do anything for a while. And then he decided he wasn't happy with how the series ended and decided to do more. But no. But yeah, if it was not science fiction, one of the other classes was mysteries. One of the other ones, it was basically, different literature paths to suit what you did, or what you liked, and it was mandatory you took one of these classes.
Right. Yeah, we really didn't have a chance until my senior year, at which case there were 3 options, and then there were also electives related to English that didn't meet the requirement to graduate.
I was just stoked when I actually discovered there was a science fiction class.
Yeah,
but still,
I would have been too.
you would have had to have read one of them. You would have had to have read Shakespeare. One of my other classes was famous poetry, It's where I was first introduced to Edgar
Yeah.
Allan Poe.
Poe.
Hey, we had to read
still
Poe to get
quote
through middle school too. Yeah.
Yeah, I can still quote The Raven to this day.
I can quote parts of it.
In fact, so much so that my roommate has once told me to knock it off.
Well, quoting the Raven isn't that hard to say. Nevermore.
But what about the lost love of Lenore?
The Raven didn't say that. Poe did.
No, I have funny anecdotes about that one because I actually wound up reading it twice in class. My original first part, I read it with a very Vincent Price, Orson Welles type of voice.
Ooh, excellent.
But
did I just hear Mr. Burns?
That's my best impersonation of Vincent Price, but a little bit deeper is my Burns, yes.
But somebody then reminded me later when I had to reread it that Poe was a Southerner. So the next time I did it with a Georgia accent, and that went over well. And then one time to my friends at lunch, just for giggles, I did it as Elvis.
Nice. Had the Simpsons version come out by then?
No, this was 92, I think.
Yeah, I know the Simpsons has been going on. Oh no, never mind. The Simpsons did it come out in the 90s or the 80s?
It
first couple seasons
in the
80s.
It started in 90, but
I still hear
meant
20 years old and think the 80s. I need to stop that.
Yeah, The Simpsons started in 90, but that would have meant that there was only 2-3 seasons worth of Simpsons out at that point. But no, the voice I did it was great because once you've heard The Raven starting with "Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary." Yeah, it's disturbing. The thing is, I did the entire poem that way.
Nice.
But yeah, so how can you get through, a regular K through 12 education without reading any fiction? Enough that you don't even know the fiction's greats. I mean, I get not getting obscure pop culture jokes. I mean, when when I mention anime references, I can get people not understanding that. But when I make a joke that involves things like Gilligan's Island or the Brady Bunch, and people don't get it, I understand that.
Right.
But when you talk about Alice in Wonderland
and Sherlock Holmes,
and Sherlock Holmes, those are two things that have been so ingrained into the culture. You will pick up some of that just by osmosis, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what I'm trying to remember now. The doctor was like he was going to quote something, but he knew Alice wouldn't get it, so he didn't. But I forget what it was now. Oh, that's right, Narnia, which was another thing we needed to get through elementary school. At least the first book.
Nope. That wasn't required of us either. I still have the entire box set. I haven't touched it yet.
We read in 5th grade. For 5th grade reading class, we had to go through the first 2 Harry Potter and the first Narnia.
No, we had none of that in 5th grade.
Well,
mind you, I was reading Narnia when I was in 5th grade.
We were reading the first 2 Harry Potter because they had just been released. So,
but it was let's see. In 5th grade, I was reading Frank Herbert's Dune.
For class?
And then what?
For class? Oh, I was gonna say, wow.
No, for 5th grade. I'm trying to remember 5th grade. You see, my problem was I was
6th grade was the first time I tried it.
Up until high school, I was placed in advanced reading classes because I was reading on a level far above most other people. Because, mind you, I've been reading since I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading the freaking 2nd or 3rd book of Lord of the Rings in middle school for I think 7th grade or so, and my teachers were all going, "Holy smokes! How are you reading that and you don't know how to spell?" Dyslexic.
Yeah. I read the Lord of the Rings in 4th grade. I
See,
tried reading the Silmarillion in 5th, but I couldn't get through it.
I read
No one
The
can get
Hobbit
through
and The
that,
Lord of the
man.
Rings, I think, the year before they announced the first movie.
Mm.
Smack.
So then the movies came out. I was just like, why is everyone acting like this is a new thing? So anyway, the time machine. What did you guys think of the Doctor changing Cedric's choice in music so that he would have children, so that his personality
He
would
didn't
change? A lot of the
change.
Christmas
He didn't
carols.
change his choice in music. He just
Like, he
introduced him to.
Yeah.
He just
So-
introduced him to something before it came out, and he's just like, what? Just you wait and see.
But his whole motivation in doing that was so that he would have children to change his personality.
It
So
was.
that would-
Not so much
Yeah.
to change his personality, Bill.
Yeah. It was
That's not what
intended
I'm reading
to
into
change
it.
his personality so that he would
He
hesitate
changed his
instead of
outlook on
sending the
life.
time machine back.
Yeah. So
Oh, to stop him from turning the time machine back, yeah.
It was a moment of A Christmas Carol again, and it was something I didn't like them doing in A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
I mean, for the Doctor, who seems to be a very big proponent of individual freedom, he tends to do this to people far too often in
Right.
that kind of work. It's something that, he would, if someone else was doing it,
He would
be
pissed.
absolutely, he would be livid.
Yeah,
and
he would
yet he's
overturn
doing it,
mountains
so
to stop someone.
That's
from
all
doing
right
it.
then.
Well, I think the way to look at it is that the Doctor's doing this for the better good, whereas most people aren't.
Never use that phrase around me, Matt. So much evil
Especially
has been.
related to the Doctor. I mean, of anyone, the Doctor would not accept that.
No, he wouldn't. I actually have a line I'm going to be using in one of my fictions where somebody says it's for the greater good, and he just turns and he glares at him with the line, some of the most greatest atrocities in the universe has been done by people working for the greater good.
Well, then why do they
And
keep writing the Doctor for the greater good?
Is
then?
that? I don't, because the
They've
whole
done
point
it a
is-
dozen times now.
No, the whole
For the
point-
11th Doctor, at
The whole
least.
point with the greater good was that he blew up Gallifrey for the greater good, and then went back and realized it was a terrible decision and undid it. I mean, oh yeah, if you're saying like they wrote things like A Christmas Carol, yes, but that's what we're complaining about in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what other parts did he do for the greater good, Matt?
I don't know, you tell me. You've seen all season 6.
Yeah, but that really wasn't the Doctor doing stuff. That
Yeah.
was morally murky.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
It was-
the most morally murky thing you would say was that he knew that Amy wasn't on the TARDIS, but he didn't know where she was, so he didn't say anything. But that, and I'm surprised Rory didn't punch him about that one, honestly. But I would do the same thing in that situation. So
Yeah, because that would, first of all, Rory would immediately want to go looking for Amy, which would tip them
Right.
off that they knew something was wrong.
and if he even said that on the TARDIS, they would have heard him.
Mm-hmm. So he's doing his best to subtly look for her while not revealing that he's looking for her. It's a very hard position to be in, and I think
Yeah.
that was the right choice. I just don't like the rest of the storyline
Mm-hmm.
in that it's basically, yeah.
I mean, this is the same guy whose whole thing about Demon's Run was that he won without anybody being shot or raising his arm in violence. So the whole greater good thing is usually not something you'd expect him to fall back on.
But
Right.
tends to be the way he's doing things once in a while here, which kind of tilts my head.
It's the things that it's stuff they're doing that annoys the crap out of me. It annoyed me when we first saw it in A Christmas Carol. It just seems so anti-Doctor.
Yeah.
It's stuff you think we'd see the Master doing.
It's like there's certainly, you know, I mean, I could certainly see the Doctor doing his best to convince someone of something, but yeah, just going through and changing their history. And I mean, here it's a lot more mundane, and it was the entire universe at stake, so it's a bit more acceptable than in A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Christmas Carol was just...
Christmas Carol was
a little overdone.
Yeah, it was almost sadistic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not only am I going to be changing your history, I'm going to be making you watch while I'm doing it.
Right.
Make you watch mentally while I'm changing it.
This one, it was just... And, you know, it's not unlike the Doctor to mention to somebody, you know, wait till Bob Dylan comes out, you're going to love him, is absolutely an acceptable thing for the Doctor to do. But doing it, I mean, it's kind of a general
doing it intentionally
statement.
to manipulate someone is
where you start getting murky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it's actually a very Doctor thing to say things like that. I remember Chris Eccleston at the end of the Doctor Dances going, 20 years till pop music, you're gonna love it, you know.
And it's like, and if it was one thing where like it was a fixed moment where he knew, okay, this person is definitely going to one day listen to Bob Dylan and as a result accomplish great things, whereas this, he knew that wasn't going to happen and flipped a switch essentially.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a, what the hell, man? What were you thinking, writers? Is this really how you see the Doctor?
Which makes me wonder, is It's All in the Beat a Bob Dylan quote, or is that literally just something to do with Hunters of Earth?
I don't know.
Like, I've never listened to, well, I don't think I've ever listened to him myself, so I couldn't...
I've listened to a little Bob Dylan. I'm not overly fond of Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I'm not really fond of his stuff either, so, yeah.
He comes across as a little whiny for me.
Now I heard that there, Bill.
Yeah, I think I know what happened, and it's probably my fault, although I could also blame my phone. I turned it down while it was on vibrate, and that turned the sound back on. So, it's going away.
But no, I'm not an over fan of Bob Dylan. Like I said, he sounds a little too whiny. I like some of his songs, but
I would try sampling some right now, but we're recording, so.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that would get us flagged.
He has that nasal twang. And he was mostly, you know, a protest-style singer.
Mm.
You know, the kind that was very common in the 60s.
Yeah. See, I'm more of a 70s music guy myself, too, so 70s on up.
For me, it varies. There are songs I like from every.
Well, I don't mean just specifically that, but I mean
from
like
every era. I love some 50s music. I love some 60s music. I'm a big Beatles fan.
Oh yeah,
For
Beatles
instance.
is pretty good, and that's probably some of the oldest stuff I'll listen to. In some cases, I will occasionally, very seldom, listen to a little bit of classical music, and that probably be some of the oldest stuff.
Oh, I listen to classical music all the time.
But usually I'm a rock pop guy, kind of guy. So I'm usually a rock pop guy, so I usually don't always veer too far back.
I will listen to a lot of 70s. As Matt knows, we do share the same tastes in 70s musicians.
I won't be surprised if we share the same taste a little bit in the 80s as well.
Problem is the genres I tend to listen to barely existed in the 70s. I do listen to some Sugar Hill Gang now and then.
Sugar Hill Gang?
The farthest I go back tends to be the Star Trek soundtrack.
Both Matt and I have a fondness for the band Styx.
Oh yes.
Um,
It starts with a little song called Mr. Roboto. You might have heard of
yeah,
it.
but
Okay,
actually,
I've listened to
my,
that.
my favorite band from the 70s and 80s is the Eagles.
The Eagles is pretty good. I'll give you that. Yes.
My favorite song of all time is Journey of the Sorcerer.
Mhm.
And not just because it's Hitchhikers, I will listen to that ad nauseum
oh,
in its
yeah.
completeness.
I have a full version of that myself.
I'm also fond of Hotel California.
Hotel California's
Especially,
fun,
I'll listen
too.
to the lyrics, which tend to be very disturbing when you hear them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Did
listen to
did
them
you
for
know
what
there's
they are.
foreign versions of that thing?
What's that?
Did you know there's foreign versions of Hotel California?
Doesn't surprise me.
I've heard a Mexican version.
Now, I remember listening to a
Mexican, not a
Japanese
language.
version of Kiss. That was interesting.
Hmm.
Them listening to a Japanese band singing rock and roll all night in English. That's disturbing.
Sekima
Especially
too is
since I know
pretty good on its own.
the Japanese band in question.
Oh.
I mean, not personally, but I've heard them do other stuff, and I liked their work. But this was, I think, from one of their live albums, and they spontaneously broke into rock and roll all night. I'm like, what the hell?
One of the bands I listen to from Japan, Sekima, their lead singer has done a lot of solo stuff too. And one of the things I did catch him doing was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I think
With a
Do As
full band.
Infinity did that too.
He did like with a full orchestra.
Oh yeah,
for television.
I heard a Japanese version of Bohemian Rhapsody sung in Japanese.
Mm-hmm. But for the
That
most part, I
was
believe it was Japanese. Yes.
That was interesting. Kasan. Yeah, that was just brain kind of froze for a bit.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you just sit there and watch for while your head slowly tilts to the left, going, huh?
Because I know that song so well, so you hear it said in a different phrase, your brain just doesn't comprehend.
My brain will
Why
just
for is song not singing right words?
more of my brain tries to process which part are we at now. Okay, there, that part. I know which the next line is, and start drawing in with it as long as no one's around to listen in English.
But no, where were we? We've tangented.
We're talking about,
Music.
about Chivers and John Doe.
Yeah, I just found that to be morally questionable, and
Which seems to be a top button issue with some of the writing in the last couple of years.
I mean, and you can tell they were kind of stretching to figure out a way to make these all make sense. For example, Night of the Whisper wanted the guy to become a mayor so that they could create a hot honeymoon spot to conceive the time agent in.
Mm-hmm.
So
which really, if you think about it, is way too much playing God.
Yeah, that's a little.
Yeah, that's a little too far. That's a little far even for the Doctor.
Like save his parents' lives and then create a honeymoon spot for them to conceive him in. It's a little. I mean, if he was
How
going
much
to be
before
born,
that,
they
and
don't
how long has
need
it
that.
been before he's engineered everybody in the entire universe?
Right, like yeah, he's that close to becoming the Krivix himself at that point.
Well, look at the bright side. He'll make the Quizak Satarak.
Like that's why as I was writing the summary to this, I was sitting here like the Krivix are essentially that universe's version of the Time Lords. Except they take it a bit farther.
They're close. They're not really the Time Lords.
They're what
they're
the Time Lords
close-
could be. They have the capabilities of them, and just
Sort of. They're closer to the creatures that eat time back from Father's Day. Anybody else remember those things?
I
yeah.
remember what you're saying. I'm just because like their whole thing is they control what's going to happen and everything else in the universe, which seems more like something. an insane
they're
time
eating
for him
though.
to do.
They're eating like the weeping angels though. They're eating people's
Yeah.
time potential.
Right,
Only instead of eating people, they're eating the universes.
right.
So they're closer to a very highly ambitious weeping angels.
At least they can talk without silly apparatus.
Yeah, mostly so Nick Briggs can do another voice.
Yeah, pretty much.
You'd rather they just stared at the characters and scuttled?
I'm kind of surprised they didn't have, what's his name? Michael Cochran do that too. I mean, every other one has had only 2 voice actors, and sometimes the opposite gender played 2 roles. So I'm kind of surprised that didn't happen here.
Because
Right.
Nick Briggs decided he was going to do it,
Yeah.
and he's the executive producer, so it's like...
I haven't.
You
done
want a
new
monster voice? I'll give you a monster
Like-
voice.
I haven't done a new Alien in the past month. Let's fix that.
Yeah, Doctor Who has been kind of alien light for
Like,
me
really,
recently.
In the past year, how many voices has he done? He's done the Daleks, Cybermen, the Krivix. He's done the Ice Warriors. The what were the guys from Light at the End?
Guys,
I forget
light
their
at the
names. But he
end.
did them.
Not to mention any other aliens he's voicing for Big Finish, because he can.
Right.
Dun, dun. Which I'm just going to estimate at least at 3.
He did the Zygons.
Mm-hmm. He did the Zygons, all the new Daleks.
He's probably had at least a good 8 voices this year.
At least. I'd say closer to a dozen.
Ignoring him playing the Doctor and everything else in Night of the Whisper.
Yeah,
Let's ignore that, yes.
Let's ignore his Jack Harkness, too.
Let's
Which-
really ignore the Jack Harkness.
According to Big Finish, he does an amazing Jack Harkness.
It is amazing. It's amazingly bad.
But they forgot the other word there.
Like, I think like based on the description of that, I have a feeling that's how he landed the role. Was that at all of Big Finish, he did the best Jack Harkness.
Which is sad, really.
I can do a better Jack Harkness.
That's
You're
because we're
American.
also Americans.
I don't know if Big Finish employs any Americans, so.
Very few, if any. Probably only for quick little roles. And they didn't have anyone in at the time.
Dude, the other guy they had in the same thing.
True, they could have had that guy do that too, and would have been better.
Yeah, are you kidding? His regular voice was so Jack Harkness, I was getting confused.
Well, that was that episode. What's anything else we wanted to talk about this episode?
Other than the Doctor going a little too far into planning things.
You get a little too meticulous, so you're going past chess master into I'm the god of the universe.
Like this, it really like. I can imagine the 7th Doctor would listen to his descriptions and be like, "Whoa, dude, you need to stop manipulating things."
Yes. We get what you're trying to do here. You can bring it down to about 11.
Now, excuse me, I have to go talk to some woodland animals.
And I gotta put some fake bird shit on my face. Seriously, he posed with the stuff that they put in his hair for that.
Mm.
With it still in the petri dish. He applies it himself, apparently. Probably with a few other little touch-ups, but still.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah,
that's another subject.
How was Radagast in Desolation of Smog anyway? Did he do anything significant?
Don't know, I haven't seen it yet.
What's that?
Did
Sorry.
Radagast do anything significant in Desolation of Smog?
He was there, I think, for 1 or 2 episodes, but mostly he winds up being Gandalf's toady.
Which is not bad. There's worse jobs.
It's more of a role than he had in the actual Hobbit, so which is what
apparently the Seventh Doctor. There's only like 2 scenes that have the 2 of them in there. And yeah, he's basically it's odd to see the Doctor doing the role of companion.
Oh, speaking of which, they did refer to the Doctor as Alice's companion at one point in here before she knew his name. Not entirely sure if that was an intentional nod or if that just happened to be the way the scene was written and no one thought anything of it.
Because yeah, seeing Sylvester McCoy basically doing Gandalf, what is it?
Yeah, I can see that would be a little weird.
Just a wee bit.
Sylvester McCoy twists his ankle. Gandalf, help!
And then eventually Gandalf going, okay, things are gotten too dangerous. You need to get out of here. He does. It's that bad. It's that much of a companion role. I actually want to see Sylvester McCoy at a convention now and actually ask him. So how does it feel to have played a companion now in The Hobbit?
Gandalf uses his staff to unlock the door so that Radagast can escape through it. Anyway, this time it was my fault we went off on another.
It's all your fault, this one, Bill.
It was much shorter than the ones you guys brought us on.
Yeah.
It's a long and winding road. Sorry.
Anything else we'd like to particularly say about this?
Let's see.
I'm curious since I remember Matt and I liked Light at the End, but you didn't specifically because of all the time manipulation and everything that is kind of breaks the rules of the actual show. How did you feel regarding this, considering all of the different types of time manipulation that went on?
He already mentioned that his head hurt.
Yeah.
It's
sometimes something you really love can also make your head hurt.
But no, this was
hard about it. So,
all things considered, this was okay. The amount of paradoxes involved, like I said, I think the fact that it's
it was a little too paradox heavy. It relied too much on them. Too much on them.
I can
the
almost
story kind of
excuse
pulled
this
itself
one.
up by it created its own bootstraps in
I can
way.
excuse this one because there's this plot device called an ultra paradox involved, which is apparently allowing the universe to continue with this amount of paradox in play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can at least give it that much. They at least made up the widget that they could make this happen with.
The entire thing that he used to communicate with his past selves is in and of itself a bootstrap paradox, because the only reason that the original guy had it was because the Doctor gave it to him. The only reason the Doctor gave it to him was because he stole it from the guy who was given it by the Doctor. So,
yeah, like I said, ultra
is that how all time?
is
is that how all Time Lord technology is created? It just comes into being by use of paradoxes.
Wouldn't surprise me.
According to part of my history, sort of.
Like in fact, Omega used the TARDIS to go back to our system to create the first TARDIS.
Not quite that bad, but
I find that idea amusing, though. It's not a good way to start off a franchise, but
it makes me wonder if Rassilon went back in time to earlier Rassilon and brought up the concept of bow ships. Which, was the Time Lord technology that preceded TARDISes.
Mm.
They were used to destroy the great vampires.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Anywho, tangenting off on other things. So I think it's time that we give scores then.
Yeah, do we really have anything else to say about this episode?
I don't think we do unless we really wanted to break down how it compares to each one for the sake of people who haven't heard it. But that's really the only other thing we could really talk about. I think.
Score is usually the best way to do that, to be honest.
No, I meant like how does it compare to one? How does it compare to the others? Again, I think there were better voice actors than Jenna Louise Coleman, who got the role solely because she's the current standing companion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was completely and totally unnecessary. This episode did not benefit at all from having her narrate it.
I kind of disagree, and I don't know I don't know if it's just the way her voice affects me, but I mean, I kind of got lost in it to the point where I tended to forget that she was narrating. So maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I will say she's by far not the worst person we have. I would
not
actually
the
give
worst
that to
person,
Nick
yeah.
Briggs.
No,
because Nick Briggs did a really
No, I would
bad
give it-
job.
I would give it to Mike Yates before.
Yeah,
I would
Yates.
give it. Mike Yates was the worst. I just
Yates
I don't find there was anything
Absolutely
special.
astoundingly bad.
I didn't say it was horrible. I just didn't hear anything special.
Mhm. I mean, I think she
no
definitely
real connection to the work. By the way, Jenna Louise Coleman is somebody else who came into this completely non-knowledgeable about Doctor Who.
So was Billy Piper, I believe, as well. If you're going to compute,
So was Catherine Tate. If you listen to her, some of the shows she was on.
Catherine Tate was a fan of New Who, but she was not a fan of Classic Who.
She wasn't even that much of a New Who fan when she started.
Okay, so maybe after doing Runaway Bride, she became a fan and watched more.
I don't know. Listen to her do an interview on Don't Mind the Buzzcocks when Tennant was there. Oh my God!
I'm trying to remember the interview. I remember hearing an interview where she was talking about how she had only heard of Classic Who, but it was specifically a thing targeted at boys, whereas Classic Who she was more into because it was more diverse of a focus and everything. Unless I'm thinking somebody else. No, I might be. No, I'm not. I might be mixed. I'm thinking. Catherine Tate's part of the Destiny of the Doctor behind the scenes documentary. I think is where I heard that.
Well, that's a more recent thing then, because this was Catherine Tate as of 2010, and
and I believe I saw it too, and she was really hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, she was not the brightest, sharpest knife in the drawer when they did Doctor Who trivia. I think she got like 1 for 3 or 1 for 5.
I think.
And David was just sitting there, really killing her.
I think the person
he was blasting her.
I think the person who played Jackie was even worse. Like, the only reason she made it so far was that she guessed a lot very well. Like, she would be like, random
you're talking
guess
about
and win.
Leakest Link.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
there was another game show?
It's not really a game show. It's a talk/comedy show. Usually has to do with music. In England, called Never Mind the Buzzcocks or Don't Mind the Buzzcocks.
Oh, that had it. Okay, so that's. Okay.
They had a Doctor Who themed one once because David Tennant was their guest host.
Got you.
And they had Catherine Tate and what's his face, Wilf, Bernard Cribbins.
Yeah.
Both on the show and on opposing panels actually. And
by the way, Bernard blew poor Miss Tate out of the water.
Yes, he did.
Well, considering he acted with. He acted with
Peter Cushing.
He acted with Peter Cushing. He acted with John Pertwee.
Catherine Tate warns us ahead of time. Mentions the fact that she only knew that Daleks weren't robots until about 30 minutes prior to broadcasting.
Ow. I'm done now.
But as for where we got to this with Jenna Louise Coleman, I do think that she distinguished at least enough between the four parts, if you include the narrator that she played, that it was always very clear to me who was talking and who wasn't, which was an issue, especially speaking of Catherine Tate, that we had an issue with that one. You know, I definitely think as Alice, as the Doctor. Oh no, maybe she only played three parts. Alice, Doctor, and narrator. Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As Alice, Doctor, and narrator, it was always very clear who was and wasn't talking.
I didn't feel as much, especially during the intro where Alice was first talking to the Doctor. I found that it was very hard to distinguish characters at that point. It got better. She got better, but early on, she had a hard time of it.
Even when I have a problem with the voice actors not doing enough, I seem to have less of a problem than you guys do. I don't know why.
Well, I'm finding it because we all reacted differently to different things. Like, you had a little bit more trouble or you as in Randy had a little more trouble with Catherine Tate than I did, whereas Matt had the least. I had, to you guys, Ace sounded better than she did to me, or Sophie Aldred sounded better as the Doctor than you did to me, whereas to me, Jenna Coleman sounded better to me than she did to you. So, different ears seems to be the verdict there.
And I actually did try to play a little bit of Minecraft while I was listening to this one, but for some reason, I don't know if it was just me or what, but it seemed like something was accidentally randomly pressing to skip ahead.
No, I never had any problems with that.
So I don't know why, but so I just had to actually close up Minecraft and had to sit there last night listening to it.
Pointless flash games while I was listening to this one.
For some reason, Windows Media Player was fast forwarding when I wasn't intending it to do anything, so I actually had to stop playing Minecraft.
I don't use Windows Media Player. I use these in audiobook format and listen to them on iTunes.
I use the music app on Android.
I've tried even using my MP3 player to listen to these, and my MP3 player just scattered everything to the four winds, so I can't even trust that. I just listen it off the media player.
Yeah, I'm much prefer the audiobook format from iTunes. If I could afford a iPhone and they actually worked on my carrier, I probably would have one as opposed to the Android phone, but US Cellular does not do iPhones yet. We'll give them time. If I wanted an iPhone badly enough, I would have to go to AT&T or Verizon in this area, and I would rather not.
Go Verizon, man. It's better than AT&T. Trust me.
I know that much. I know that much.
My understanding is that it was also more expensive.
Well, AT&T in this area is horrible. We had a friend who got that first generation iPhone, and AT&T, and switched it. He went back to US Cellular earlier this year, just because it was that bad.
Well, with AT&T, the previous internet I had, which would, as you remember, frequently fold and would have to restart everything again like 5 minutes later.
AT&T cell phone is a bit different from AT&T.
Let me finish.
Regular though.
But as I was saying, the AT&T internet that we had would constantly fold, and that's a problem. And that's a problem that most people don't get, even with just regular DSL. But also, before that, my mother actually had, for her first cell phone, was a part of the AT&T lineup that has been since bought out by AT&T, but still has not been improved any. And
the AT&T coverage area in Wisconsin is really bad. There are a lot of gaps.
But as for your talking about internet bill, let me put you this way. I'm not sure on all the technical details, but I do know that in order to hook up stuff, it eventually does have to go to a wireless router in order to hook up to the main hub of AT&T. To which, yeah, I'm in Wisconsin. AT&T sucks out here.
Yeah, I just mean like the AT&T for your home is functionally different because all of the AT&T wireless stuff used to belong to Singular. They were two separate companies until they got bought out. So they're
Still
in terms of how good it is. Like I have AT&T for my home. I probably would not get an AT&T cell phone.
Both are very spotty out here.
That said, I'm not sure if a phone company debate is what anyone wants to hear.
No, we tangented again. We did.
Yeah.
We're sorry, people. We have these arguments. We're geeks. It's what we do.
Don't go to AT&T.
Matt, shut up. We got off the tangent. Go away.
So who wants to start rating it then?
Not it.
I'll give it a 4. It was good, not great. The writing was okay if you like the fuzzy logic and you like the you don't mind the meddling, and Coleman was good, not great. I think it's slightly above average. I'll be generous and give it a 4. It's between it'd be between a 3.5 and a 4 for me.
Now, listening to that, I would put it somewhere between a 3 and a 4, and that's because I would rate this a bit more harshly because it's the finale, in which case I'd have to give it a 3 because there's a certain being the best you expect of the finale, and it also, I think the way it wraps it up could have been improved. So if I were specifically going on that harsh of a rating, I'd give it a 3. So I'm going to say probably, I think I'm going to come down on a 3.25. Between a 3 and a 3.5.
Oh wow, you've actually now given us a rating that we've not had before. We've never gone into quarters. We've never gone into quarter stars. No, we've always done halvesies.
We've only done halvesies.
Someone had done a 4.25 or something.
We talked about it and it got revised before the end of it.
Ah, got you.
I think I wanted to give something a 4.25, but I think I either changed it to a 4 or a 4.5.
Okay.
I have to agree with a lot of what Bill said, but the rest and the fuzzy logic and so forth, I don't mind too much. It didn't bother me that much. Again, compared to Randy, I'm actually a Back to the Future fan. Apparently, stuff that makes his head hurt, I'm just like,
Oh, that reminds me of something off topic. Sorry to interrupt a bit, but I mentioned this to you guys. I'm not sure if you remember. After Day of the Doctor, I mentioned that he quoted a movie but didn't make a big deal out of it because he had already done so in The Time Machine. Did you guys hear that line in this one?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have to go back to the future. I've always wanted to say that. I was so surprised he did not say anything about it when he said that in Day of the Doctor, but this is the only explanation I could think of as to why he didn't. So I just wanted to interject with that.
Which means you're canonizing this. You realize that, don't you?
Well, yeah. Everything has a little bit of canon in it, of course. But anyway.
I believe in additive continuity more than subtractive anyway, which is unless the show specifically denies it, it counts for me.
I am a little more strict on it because a lot of derivative works get characters get horribly flanderized, and I'm a big opponent of fanon unless it adds to a character rather than subtracts to it. Even in universe, messing with a character bothers me unless there's a reason for changing that character. In other words, whether the character goes through a massive trauma or something and winds up with a personality change, that's part of character growth and development. When you flat out decide to take everything about a character and distill it to its essence for no other reason than it makes them easier to write, I get annoyed.
Anywho, I kind of fall between you guys. I'm going to give this a 3.5.
Somehow I knew you were going to do that.
I'm being nicer to Bill, but not quite as nice to as Randy. There are some flaws.
That gives us an
there
average
are
of
plenty of flaws.
3.583.
But the story in general was okay by me. And what did we get?
That gives it a 3.583. The thing is, I was leaning toward a 3 already, but I wasn't sure if I was being hard or lenient on it. Then after listening to Randy, I decided that I was being a little hard on it.
So still, it's a slightly above average, and the story is fine. The voice acting could have been done a little bit better, maybe, in places. Some of the logic is a bit fuzzy, but you know what? They've got so many strings to attach that it's going to go fuzzy no matter what you do with this many hands in on it.
Yeah, it's partly that. It's partly it's the writing itself is decent enough. I think it could have worked as a Doctor Who episode. I would be a little pissed about some of it. Largely, the master manipulation bit, but
yeah,
we've already seen that in the Snowmen, so...
One thing that influenced it was, this was something we talked about before you had listened to it, which was not a huge fan of the fact that everything to do with the past episodes of the series was pretty much one scene here.
Yeah, that was annoying, but at the same time, it happened, and then they explain it, which was enough for me. I mean, you could
it would have been a lot worse if they just waved it off, but...
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, and it really could have been redundant if they had gone through and redid all the messages back from Matt Smith's point of view. Because it would have been adding another probably 10, 15 minutes onto the episode.
Yeah. But I'm like that. Although some of the things I'm kind of wondering why he was interrupted for certain ones he had time to get the whole thought across when all he was literally doing was thinking in a box.
Now, that is one thing that I guess is a little annoying, is the fact that the communications happened differently. So there should have been different ways of contacting him. Yet at the same time, I'm wondering if those communications actually happened at all. And what we actually saw were essentially the Doctor's own brain interpreting psychic messages in different formats. I don't know. It's something I have to ponder on.
The companions and the other random people that were with him also saw the messages, though.
Yeah,
some of them, yes. Anywho, I guess that's about it then.
Yep, that does pretty much wrap us up for today. So meet us in about 3.5 days, give or take some time. Less than that by the time this hits YouTube. And we'll be there for the Time of the Doctor.
And yeah, we'll be discussing that. We'll probably discuss a little bit on Matt Smith and
probably our first impressions of Capaldi.
Yep.
Other than his eyebrows, of course. We already saw those.
He'll give us more than an evil glare.
Hopefully. Although that would be kind of interesting if he regenerates and then the camera just slowly zooms in as he glares at the camera.
I don't know.
That would be a memorable regeneration.
You do that, and he does that and gives off a master laugh. I'd start going, oh my god, no.
It is the master.
Coming in August, Evil of the Doctor.
I'm just picturing now the Doctor looks at the camera and then it starts playing the dun 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 as it zooms in on his face and he's just same expression the whole time.
I don't know. I just think that's great. He regenerates and starts laughing evilly. Coming in August, Evil of the Doctor.
And then he starts choking Clara.
No, we've already seen that. Been there, done that.
Seen
Colin
it.
Baker has the T-shirt.
Aw. I showed Perry, and look where it got me.
Seriously, I wonder if anyone ever gifted Colin Baker a T-shirt that said "Warning: Choking Hazard."
Are we still streaming, by the way?
Yes, you be quiet now so I can
All
stop
right, guys.
it.
Next week.
Alright.